Welcome back, everybody. It's Crabcakes and Baseball. I am Jerry Shank. With me, as always, Jamie Naill, our Maryland scouting director. A wild week of baseball last week, Jamie. We got to see a little bit of everything. Are you still standing?
Yeah, yeah, still standing. Crazy week last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's a great lead in to what we want to start out with. And we're going to go to our Power 25 rankings. They have been updated. They are out. Um, if you were going to lose a game, this was a good week to lose a game because there was a lot of upsets from last week. There's a lot of moving around, as you can see if you're looking at the rankings. We don't need to go through them all. I think, as we had said, a couple morals of the story: if you were going to lose a game, lose it this week, and also let's try not to play 4 games in a week. MPSSAA, why don't we throw an extra week of the season for these guys so we can not have to play 4 games in a week, um, to allow for this, because it seemed like it was a lot stretched out, a lot of teams, especially early in the season. But Jamie, having said that, we did see 2 teams start to pull themselves away, or at least really stand out, and that's Sherwood and Severna Park.
Yeah, I mean, both still undefeated. I think you see both of them really turning into the powerhouses that we thought that they were going to be. Um, Obviously, that 4A state championship is on the horizon for those two, and that's what they're pushing for. But those two teams, I think, are really kind of setting themselves apart.
So sorry about that, guys. We just jinxed you, so make sure you make us look good. Continue to play well. All right, let's go into our team of the week. Team of the week last week, we're going to Howard County and we're going Marriott's Ridge. Marriott's Ridge, 4 consecutive wins this week, so they did go 4-0 after dropping their season opener in week 1. 2 huge wins over Power 25 teams. River Hill on Wednesday, and then a big win in a top 10 team, Glen Elk, on Friday, 4-1. Jamie, you got anything else you want to add with that?
Yeah, I mean that's huge. That's two really big wins over two quality opponents in River Hill and Glenelg. So when you go undefeated in a week, especially with the craziness that last week had, I think it was a no brainer for Team of the Week, and we'll see how Marriott's Ridge does for the rest of the season. But definitely a huge week last week.
Absolutely. And that team of the week, that strong week, they have gotten into our Power 25 rankings for this week. Honorable mentions for team of the week from last week, you've got Catoctin, Sherwood, Severna Park, Chopticon, Patuxent, and Liberty, all teams who are still undefeated. So now let's move on. Let's go into the games from last week. Just want to highlight a few of the bigger games that stuck out to us. The first one, DeMatha Catholic, big win over Good Counsel, 7-2. We talked earlier in the year, Jamie, about DeMatha. We felt like they're just right on the brink. They're really right on the brink from taking that next step. Maybe this is that victory that can really set the stage for a really strong season.
Good Counsel has played great all year, and we've seen them right over Dematha. So we kind of flip flop them in that top 10 after that huge win from Dematha. So that's kind of really all I just wanted to say.
Yeah, and then also Severna Park again, 3 big wins. They victories over Broadneck, Arundel, and Old Mill. Broadneck, obviously, they're still in the top 10 this week. Arundel, rivalry game. You never know what you're going to get. They took care of business. And same thing with Old Mill. That's always been a good matchup between those 2 teams. They handled their business. Congrats to Severna Park. Another strong week. Middletown, big win over Urbana. They went for a 3-0 victory. Excuse me, I can't get it out of my mouth. But Middletown, big win over Urbana. It was a tough week for Urbana, or I'm sorry, for Middletown as well. They're playing Boonesboro, they're playing Catoctin and Urbana all in the same week. 3 of the higher tier teams in Western Maryland. So kudos to them for that big win. And then our last game, Northwest over Walt Whitman. This was probably one of the big surprise games from the week. It was a 7-6 victory for Northwest over Whitman. Jamie, you got to see the game. What do you want to say about it?
Yeah, and kind of what I talked about in the Scout blog that I put up on the site. It was a back and forth game, and you and I were talking a little earlier in the night. Whitman just couldn't put them away. Every time Whitman would score, they were up 5-1 in the second. Northwest came back and scored three to make it 5-4. And they just kept going back and forth, and Northwest finally took the lead, and they didn't surrender it. So, on paper, Whitman obviously has a deeper roster on both sides of the ball and stuff like that. But Northwest, they're scrappy, and they stayed in it, and it was definitely one of the more surprising upsets from the week.
Yeah, and just a reminder too, everybody, make sure you're going on to prepbaseballreport.com/Maryland. You're going to see Jamie's scout blogs from every game he goes to throughout the week. Also, we'll have some content in there from our interns, from our scouts who are also going out trying to cover games, trying to get as much content out there as we can. One aside before we go into our next, do not forget to go on, see our Power 25, but also our private Power 10 have been updated. Archbishop Spalding, though they did have a little bit of a setback, which I think we might talk about a little bit, they're still at number one. We do have a few teams that have come in, and that's going to go into what I want to talk about next, and that's our MIAA minute. So that leads me into what I do want to talk about, which is Calvert Hall, the only MIAA A division team that went undefeated this week, wins over Gilman and Bishop Mack. That moves them into the number 3 spot this week. Jamie, what say you about this good week from Calvert Hall?
Yeah, and I really like Calvert Hall. I got to see them twice last week or the week prior, that Friday Saturday when it was real messy with the rain. But Calvert Hall, they're deep on both sides of the ball. I really like the offense. It's a high powered offense, especially at the top. They have the arms. Once they're starting to get healthy now. So once those arms are at full strength, Calvert Hall is going to be a tough team to beat throughout the MIAA, and you're already seeing it early in the season. So I'm a big fan of Calvert Hall. That's why we've moved them up a little bit. Um, and a big week as well, going undefeated.
Yeah, and then I alluded to it earlier. The next thing we do have to address, huge upset last week, something that I don't think many people saw coming, excuse me. But Archbishop Curley defeating Spalding on Monday, kicked off the week. Really, really unexpected win. Great win for Archbishop Curley. We have talked about them as a kind of a surprise team that maybe could take another step. And I know we've talked about this at length, just trying to figure out the identity of Curley. But hey, that's a great victory right now over Spalding.
Yeah, and we had the feeling that Curly may have taken a step back this year with everything that they lost from last year's team. But starting off your week defeating Spalding is definitely a good start to the week. So big upset there, huge win there, and Spalding rebounded throughout the week. But Curly defeating Spalding, that was definitely an eye opener for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's the beauty of the MIA. You never know what you're going to get each year. It's always top competition, and that just kind of shows how strong that conference is. All right, so let's go into our last bit here, where we're going to go into our scout blogs. Jamie, another week where we got to see a ton of talent, and I want to pick your brain a little bit. The first player I do want to talk about. Now, typically we talk about him a lot as a position player, smooth infielder, good bat, but 2025, Sammy Berman, he does have two-way ability and looks like he showed a little bit for you this week on the bump.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he came out of the pen in that Northwest game and kind of slammed the door and kept Whitman in it. It's a special player on both sides of the ball, and the arm is really taken off now as well, kind of to put that two-way ability in the conversation with his recruitment. Obviously, I love the swing. Sammy has been one of my favorite players to watch him grow and mature throughout his high school years. It's a very highly touted uncommitted 2025. Like I said, I love the swing. He went line drive up the middle for an RBI late in that game, and then jumped up on the bump. He was mid to upper 80s with the fastball. He can spin a big 12-6 breaker for strikes. He pounds the zone. He attacks hitters. It's a lot of confidence on the bump. I love the pace. And the arm's clean too. It works. So that two-way ability is definitely there. Um, and it's a special player that you're going to want to circle, and you're definitely going to want to go out and watch, especially when he throws, because like I said, that arm's really taken off.
All right, well, let's stay at Whitman. We got a 2024, and one of the words that you told me was electric. When I hear electric from Jamie Naill, I get excited. We've got 2024 Jacob Goldman. It sounds like it was a pretty impressive outing.
Yeah, and it was in that same game against Northwest. Goldman got the start. Not the best command on the day, and not the best command that we've seen in the past. But the fastball is definitely electric. It's high spin. It's around 2,500, 2,550. He can work both sides of the plate. I really like the frame. It's a shorter arm action with a little bit of deception there as well. And he can spin it as well. Curveball, slider. He can throw both. He can throw both for strikes. Like I said, on the day, the field wasn't at 100%, and it wasn't like we've seen in the past, and that might be the knock on him for right now. But it's a special 2024 uncommitted arm with a high ceiling. Like I said, I really like how the arm works. I like the pitch arsenal, and that high spin fastball can definitely beat bats. So when he's in the zone, it's definitely a guy that you're going to want to circle, and a guy that can really provide a lot of key innings for Whitman this year, especially as the year goes on.
Yeah, and let's, the rest of the way, we're going to stay with the 2024 class. And, you know, the 2024s, this is a lot of programs looking at 24s right now. So there's still plenty of good talent that is still remaining, especially in Maryland. And that leads me into the next one. One of the guys, me and you both like, we're big fans of. He's a Future Games alumni infielder, a lot of pop. There's a ton of like. How was Angel Santiago Cruz for you this week, Jamie?
Yeah, I really liked him. I went and saw that game against Arundel at Joe Cannon Stadium, and he went backside. And I've seen a lot of backside hits from Angel this year. I know we sent one of our interns out there to see him, and he had, I believe, a deep sac fly to left center, and then went base hit through the six hole. But what I've seen from him in the two or three games that I've seen is the backside juice. He can go right center. He can backspin to the right side. He went down the line for a double. He actually went down the line for two doubles. So the ability to use the whole field at the plate is something special. We know the bat plays, and we know the arm plays as well. He's a mid to upper 80s guy as well. He can spin it. He fills up the zone. So that's another uncommitted two way that I really really like in Maryland.
All right, and then the last one I want to talk about. Let's go to Glen Elg. You've got 2024 Zach LaFontaine.
Yeah, LaFontaine, I love the kid. He's a competitor. He's a battler. He got the start against Centennial earlier in the week. Tough little matchup there against Cade Ahern from Centennial. And LaFontaine, he matched him pitch for pitch. That's another uncommitted 2024 arm that a ton of colleges are on right now. Um, he fills up the zone, like I said, ultra competitor. I talked to Coach Steve Tiffany a lot about him. He can really spin it, bigger curveball. He throws it for strikes. He stays low in the zone. I like the frame too. I like how the arm works. Like I said, he fills up the zone. It's a special arm in that 2024 class. It's another guy that a ton of college recruiters should circle and definitely get out to see this spring.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Crab Cakes and Baseball. Folks, make sure you stay tuned. PrepBaseballReport.com/Maryland. Check out all the content continuing throughout the week. Got a lot of things going on. We also have events coming up, some big time events that we're going to be hosting this summer. So there's a lot of stuff to check out on the website. Another big week in store across the old line state. I know Jamie's going to get out to a ton of games as usual. Make sure you're paying attention because you never know where we're going to be. We've got trying to get as many eyes and ears out to fields to again promote the player, find the player, and create that awareness that we've all known and love. So make sure you stay on and you get back and visit our website so you can see all that content that comes out through there. Um, Jamie, thank you as always. Great job today. We will see you next week. And folks, it's crab cakes and baseball. It's what Maryland PBR Maryland does.